I'm super excited about this one. Manchester City versus Liverpool, Guardiola versus Klopp, first versus second in the league table. It couldn't be any closer. Manchester City Liverpool games are often must-see blockbusters, with sometimes the title on the line depending on the result. And I think the game on the weekend has the potential to be the same as well. And I know it's still very early on in the season, with both teams having to play another 25 games in the Premier League season after the game on the weekend. However, with international football now firmly behind us and the festive period of fixtures upon us, I now believe that if either side were to manage to get 3 points, it could go a long way to giving them much needed momentum for the rest of the season. Liverpool have really surprised a lot of people this season, including myself, in how well they've played and gelled together as a team after their midfield rebuild, but are they really serious title contenders to Manchester City? And Manchester City, as most people expect, are top of the table after 12 games. However, with more injuries and recent results, have they left the door open wide enough for another team to sneak into it, and are the defensive frailties showing? And then I'm going to look at Liverpool's potential lineup, Manchester City's potential lineup, put them side by side to each other and have a look at where the key battles in this game and how is the game going to be won and lost. And then finally, I will give you my prediction at the end of the game. Spoiler, I don't think it's going to be a draw. I think one team are just going to edge it. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments below. We're going to start off by looking at Liverpool and how they could potentially line up against Manchester City. This was Liverpool's last lineup in the game before the international break against Brentford, in which they won 3-0. And so from this team, I think there's some very obvious changes you can make to it. I think first and foremost, I think Alexis McAllister replaces Wataru Endo. They came into the side against Brentford because of the fact that McAllister picked up 5 yellow cards in the league so far this season and therefore was suspended for the game. I think he'll be back, and after a lovely win for Argentina against Brazil, I think he will be starting at 6. He's been the most efficient and playing the best football at the 6 out of anyone in the Liverpool side, and therefore for me, I think it's a no-brainer that he starts this game as the number 6. Another question point is Cody Gakpo and him playing in the left-hand side of the 8 as he did last time in this position here. It was a really good game from him per se against Brentford, but I think the game allowed for him to play really well and get forward and join the front 3 of Jota, Nunes and Salah. And therefore against a Man City side, and you imagine the likes of Alvarez and Foden and Bernardo Silva to be playing, would Gakpo fare well in that side, in that midfield? I think he has the quality and to be able to do so, and he could definitely do a job there. I think he's definitely not first choice and definitely an option you want further forward if you want Cody Gakpo in this game. One of the options is obviously Curtis Jones. The other option is also Ryan Gravenberch. And which out of the two you pick, I think it's a very tough decision for Jurgen Klopp and his coaching staff to take, especially because both of them have had recent injury issues. Obviously, Curtis Jones' last game was against Bournemouth in the League Cup at the beginning of the month, and so therefore he hasn't played any football since then. And is he actually going to be fit in time? And the same can be said for Ryan Gravenberch, who unfortunately, I think I've got it in my notes here, that he played, it's an issue with his knee. He played 81 minutes against Luton, then missed subsequent matches for Liverpool, and obviously didn't get picked for the Netherlands either, maybe because of the injury issues, but also maybe because of the fact that the Netherlands don't really fancy him at this moment in time. Either way, neither of them played in recent games, and if either of them are fit, I think that one plays. If both are fit, then I think, for me, I think it would have to be Curtis Jones. I think Curtis Jones' understanding of the role and what to do in the defensive sense is going to be so crucial for Liverpool against the Man City side in the midfield, which is going to be super dominant. And for me, I think it's close, but I think it is Curtis Jones in midfield for me. The other one for Liverpool is Ibrahima Konate. He is also out injured at the moment. Didn't go with France to the recent international games. Obviously, Didier Deschamps did say the fact that he might be fit, but they didn't want to take a chance. And whether or not Konate can play for Liverpool will be a point of contention. I think if Konate is fit, I think he should be playing ahead of the likes of Joe Matip. I think Matip came on and did really well against Man City. I think that was a game, again, a bit like Gakpo, which game was suited for him though, because I think with Brentford sitting off, that Matip was able to get the ball in tight spaces. Let's give him a ball. And he was able to progress and run forward into the midfield and kind of play a ball through the lines to the likes of Nunes and to the likes of Salah. But I think against Manchester City, against the pace that they may have with the likes of Erling Haaland, Jeremy Doku if he plays, that I think that Konate on this right-hand side should be the one to play if he is fit. Obviously, in the front 3, you've got Jota, Nunes and Salah. I guess there is an argument to be made of if you want Cody Gakpo or if you want Darwin Nunes. If you play Cody Gakpo, then he can drop in and sit on the likes of Rodri, with Trent coming into midfield as well. Then all of a sudden you've got the box midfield, but then you could also have the opportunity to really, really hammer home that midfield advantage if you wanted to go that way with those 5 of them in midfield and then Jota and Salah further up top. I think that it should be Darwin Núñez in this game. I think that he is the player who's most suited for this game. I think the fact that Man City have injury issues in the defensive line, I think Núñez is the one to be able to exploit it best out of anyone. I think that with the recent form he's having for Liverpool and also for Uruguay, I think he's the man in form and he should be the one to go for. I think it would be a bit defensive from Jurgen Klopp if he decided to go with someone who wasn't Darwin Núñez, and it might give Man City even a psychological advantage, or something you don't want to do in this game. So for me, it's Núñez, and obviously the last point of contention is Luis Diaz or Diego Jota on the left-hand side. I think Diaz hasn't really played well in the last few games, and I think that's very understandable with the fact that the issues they've been having in his personal life with his family back in Colombia, and therefore since he hasn't played too well recently, you can't really blame him at all. I think now that that situation resolved itself, I think we can see Diaz back to his best again. Obviously he got the equaliser against Luton, but I think for his all-round game, Diego Jota has been playing really well so far this season. Got a goal against Brentford as well, and against Toulouse in the game that Liverpool unfortunately lost away from home. But I think this is Liverpool's best starting 11 for the game. It's Man City at this moment in time in terms of form and injuries. You couldn't, maybe if Curtis Jones or Ryan Gravenberch weren't fit, and Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to play Cody Gakpo, then there could be an argument to maybe take Curtis Jones out of the side, move Dominic Szoboszlai over to the left-hand side, and then move Harvey Elliott into the right-hand side of midfield. You also have the other option of maybe not playing Elliott and then playing Dominic Szoboszlai on the right, pushing up Alexis McAllister to the left-hand side of the 3, and Endo sitting at the base of midfield. However, this is a midfield 3 that we haven't seen from Jurgen Klopp on this Liverpool side so far this season. Therefore, I think it's very ambitious to think that Jurgen Klopp's going to go for it against Man City. I think most likely it's going to be either Jones, Gravenberch or Cody Gakpo on this side. They all offer something completely different. I think Gravenberch and Gakpo are similar in the sense that they both get this ball in the space around here in deep in midfield, and they'll be able to drive with the ball into the attack and play 1-2s with the forwards and be able to link up play. I think Jones can do that as well, but I think defensively his understanding of the role far exceeds Gravenberch and only slightly exceeds Cody Gakpo. So for me, it would be Jones if he was fit. Obviously, Scott Tsimikas is going to be playing left back because Joe Gomez picked up a bit of an innocuous knock in training or in a game. No one really knows. We don't even know what part of the body he's been injured. Therefore, I think that it's likely that Tsimikas is going to be starting, considering he's also been playing for Greece as well. So he's fit and ready to go. With Robertson out with a shoulder injury which required surgery, so therefore he's probably going to be out to January anyway. But this is going to be my Liverpool side if I was Jurgen Klopp to play going into the game. I think we've got a lot of good options with likes of Gakpo and Diaz off the bench. If I can find him, there we are. Diaz off the bench. If they are fit, and I think like Ryan Gravenberch coming on, I think Wataru Endo coming on, Harvey Elliott, who I think has been really good off the bench so far this season. I think Liverpool have a lot of options, and injuries, if anything, should only restrict them in terms of players they have the option available from the bench. But this is the side that I go for Liverpool. I think there's a fluid front 3, a lot of options for Liverpool to go for, and I think that this is a side capable of winning the game on the day. And then looking at Manchester City, this is the team that they played in the last game, which was a 4-4 draw against Chelsea in what was frankly a Premier League classic. It's a fantastic game. However, I think Pep Guardiola would have been looking at the game, and I don't think he would have been happy at all. I think Manchester City really lacked control in that game, which is something you very heavily associate with Pep Guardiola and his Manchester City side. But if you look at the lineup, it was Edison, Walker, Diaz, Cavadio, Akanji, Rodri, Doku, Silva, Alvarez, Foden and Haaland in what was it, 3-2-4-1 if you want to call it that, or 3-2-5. I think this game can be really interesting from see who Pep Guardiola decides to play, because I think against Chelsea they had a lot of joy down their right hand side, Manchester City's left, and I think with the likes of Reece James and Cole Palmer, I think they really did a number on Manchester City's left hand side of the defence. And I want to show you something, because if you look at the lineups from that the average position from that game, from the Manchester City's perspective, they more play in the traditional 4-3-3, which was quite a surprise, because if you look at Ruben Diaz, he's more on the right hand side of defence. If you look at Akanji, he's more on the left hand side of the centre back, and if you look at Gvardiol, he's more of a left back, and Kyle Walker's more of a right back. And so they didn't play that 3-2-4-1 or 3-2-5, and they kind of play more of a 4-3-3. It'd be interesting to see which variation Pep Guardiola decides to go for in this game against Liverpool, because I think that Chelsea, with the Jordan on the right hand side, Man City's left, they really caused them a lot of trouble. And I thought it was really interesting because if you look at number 11 here, Jeremy Doku, and if you look at number 19 here, Julian Alvarez, I think at some point in the game, Pep Guardiola realised that, they don't have the control and they're really struggling, and therefore he made the changes. He brought on Kovacic and he brought on Jack Grealish. And just have a look. Look at 11 and look at 19 and look at see where Grealish and Kovacic end up. There. So Doku was here, Grealish average position's here. Alvarez's position was here, Kovacic's position here. Completely different area of the pitch. If I show you that again, 11 and 19, look at where they go. And then look at Grealish and Kovacic there. And I think that just showed, that I think Guardiola made a bit of a mistake, either tactically or in terms of personnel, which we're going to discuss in a second, going into the game, because of the fact that Chelsea were just so easily exploited Manchester's right-hand side of the defence. With the likes of Kovacic and then Grealish coming on, it shored it up a little bit more. However, for Manchester City, obviously Kevin De Bruyne is out injured, and I haven't even bothered giving him a magnet for this one because of the fact that he's not with his hamstring injury and likely to be out in January. I think Mateo Kovacic is unlikely to be fit for this one. Although he didn't play for Croatia in the international games over the last 2 weeks, that might give him a bit of time to recover and maybe be able to make it. But for me, I'm not sure if he's going to be fit for Man City and Pep. You would hope he is. Also, the likes of John Stones, I think if he was fit, would he be playing in that back four? I think he would be. Would you want to give him a game, considering he hasn't played recently and he didn't play for England either? Not too sure if this is the game to go for it. But I think if Johnson was fit, he would definitely be playing. I think he's more likely to go with Walker, Diaz and Gvardiol again. The only question for Pep is he going to go for the 4-3-3, or if he's going to go for the 3-2-5. We had the 3-2-5 lined up, and this is the 4-3-3 if they were to play like that. I do worry defensively in terms of Akanji and Gvardiol. Gvardiol in particular did not have a great game against Chelsea. I can't remember for which goal. There were so many goals in that game, but there's one where the ball got played down the right-hand side. Gvardiol is forced into defensive error, and then Reece James picks up the ball in this position here, and then he just passes it on to Sterling over here, and then Sterling just taps it into the back of the net. And I do worry that Gvardiol against the likes of Mo Salah would be an issue for Manchester City. But I do think that, also in midfield, how do you compare against Liverpool's new physical midfield? Are Alvarez and Silva likely to be able to do the job? I think if he is fit, I think maybe Kovacic comes into that midfield alongside Rodri and Silva. Rodri did have some issues when playing for Spain. He didn't play in their first game against Cyprus, but he did play 84 minutes against Georgia on Sunday, so you'd expect him to play. But Kovacic is the big one. I think if he is fit, I think he plays. I think Rodri, Kovacic and Silva play in midfield. That does bear the question then of which of the four Man City wide men do you play? Do you play Grealish or do you play Doku? Doku obviously got taken off. I think there's a lot of excitement around Doku going into the game against Chelsea because of the fact that he did such an amazing job against Bournemouth. I think he was involved for 5 of the 6 goals. He also had Max Aarons on toast the entire game. Max Aarons really struggled in that game. But against Chelsea, he got pocketed by Reece James, and it showed. And I think defensively as well, he was a bit lightweight and he wasn't really given support to Gvardiol in that game, which meant that he was isolated against Cole Palmer and Reece James. I think maybe Grealish is better in the bigger games. You could have an argument for that, in the fact that if Manchester City and Pep Guardiola did want to play with their 3-2-5, then I think that Grealish could be better at it than the likes of Doku, because of the fact that if this was to be a back 3 with Walker, Diaz and Gvardiol, that I think Grealish would do a bit more defensive work here on the left-hand side. I think Akanji would also be able to help out in the spaces that Dominic Szoboszlai and Trent Alexander-Arnold are likely to pick up in attacking areas. But also that means that you've then got the box midfield against the likes of Liverpool's box midfield, which is likely to be Dominic Szoboszlai on the right-hand side against Akanji, maybe Curtis Jones or Ryan Gravenberch against Rodri on the left, and then Trent and Alexis McAllister versus Bernardo Silva and Julian Alvarez, and that matches you up like for like. Now we have the two teams side by side, and these are the two lineups in the last games for both teams respectively. Obviously, like we said, I think Wataru Endi is going to come out for Liverpool, Alexis McAllister is going to go in. I think if fit, Joel Matip's going to come out. I think Ibrahim Konate is going to go in, and I think that Curtis Jones is going to play in midfield ahead of Cody Gakpo if he is fit. Obviously, for Man City, Walker, Diaz, Akanji, Gavardio, Silva, Rodri, Alvarez, Foden, Haaland, and I don't think it's going to be Jeremy Doku. I think it is going to be Jack Grealish because of the fact that I think that Pep was not happy in that game against Chelsea. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that he needs Jack Grealish in that game against the bigger side maybe, and then Doku at this moment in time is better suited for playing against a tied lower down in the table who can have a low block, give Doku time and space, and therefore he can go left and right and get balls into the box. So I think Grealish for this one. It'll be really interesting how both teams line up, because I think Haaland obviously is going to be playing up top for Man City. I think it will be Darwin Núñez for Liverpool, and how the two midfields match up against each other. And I don't think there's going to be too much in the midfields, really, if I think about it. I think Alvarez is likely to push higher up, and therefore Alex McAllister is likely to go with him or be in that space behind Curtis Jones. I think that either Curtis Jones or Dominic Szoboszlai are likely to push up against Rodri and Silva and really man for man there. But I think the key areas in which this game is going to be won or lost is going to be on the wide areas, because I think this whole middle area of the pitch, whoever it is that plays, the 6 players that play, 3 from each team, I think that they're going to cancel each other out in this game. I really do. I don't see a particularly weak link in either of those midfields, and I don't see a player who's, not going to positionally know where he needs to be on the pitch to give the other midfielder a chance to dominate. And I think even with all of those players in midfield, I still think you're going to get the likes of Akanji or Gavardio inverting, either Kanji against Masala here and Gavardio inverting, and Bernardo Silva a bit further up, or if it's going to be Gavardio against Salah on the left hand side and the Kanji inverting in. You've also got the likes of Phil Foden, who can come in from the right to help out in midfield as well. Haaland to drop deep. You've got Grealish who can help out as well. And that's just from the Man City perspective, because if you look at it from the Liverpool perspective as well, you're likely to have Trent Alexander-Arnold inverting into midfield and the back three spreading out like that. Then you're also likely to have Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones to complete the box midfield in the middle, and then obviously you can have the likes of Núñez dropping in, obviously not as much as I think if it were to be Cody Gakpo, but as we said, I don't think it is going to be Gakpo in this game. So where do I think the game's going to be won or lost? I think, sorry, I don't know why I'm moving this, I want this here. I think one area where it's going to be really difficult is to defend for Liverpool. It's going to be this wide space here on this side. Whoever it is, whether it's Grealish or whether it's Jeremy Doku. Because I think if the way Liverpool attack, that if they have prolonged possession of the ball, and if I'm just moving all the Man City and Liverpool players further up, that I think that there is going to be a time in which Man City are going to have a very quick transition, and if they get the ball out to the left-hand side, in which the space that Trent Alexander-Arnold will vacate, or Dominic Szoboszlai will vacate if Trent's a bit further up and Szoboszlai is further back, whichever way around you want it to be. But I think this area on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side of Liverpool's defence, left-hand side for Man City's attack, is going to be crucial. And I think Pep Guardiola will play Jack Grealish. I personally would play Jeremy Doku. Because I think if you get that transition sorted out, and if you do it quickly enough, and even if you don't do it quickly enough, Jeremy Doku is so fast that he can make it any pass or transition look quick enough with how fast he is with and without the ball, that I think him running up against Ibrahim Konate would cause a lot of trouble. Haaland will obviously mostly have Van Dijk, and Tsimikas would have Phil Foden or Julian Alvarez if he was to play further up on the back post. But I think with this pace, that say Konate isn't fit and it's Joel Matip against Jeremy Doku, I think if Doku can find a bit of space out wide and Man City can get the ball up to him with the likes of Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez and Rodri, then I think if Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't incredibly positionally aware in this game, which I think he has to be, and he has been recently in his defence, then I think that Doku could have a field day and he could just be making runs after runs and he could really destroy Joe Matip and his Liverpool side. He could go to the byline, but he could also cut inside as well, and he could cause them a hell of a lot of issues. So for me, I think Jeremy Doku has to play in this game. And I know it's one where Pep Guardiola might not risk it as such, and I think he will probably go for Jack Grealish, and then he will play safe. But I think that there's a real opportunity here. That I think the midfield areas, like I've said, are not going to be the areas of the pitch in which one team's going to win or not. I think it is going to be the wide areas. If you look at it like this, I think Matip and Haaland, or Konate and Van Dijk, will have Haaland and they'll be sorted and they'll be okay. I think the likes of Ruben Dias, Manuel Akanji, or Gavardio, whoever were to play in the centre backs, I think they will cancel out Darwin Núñez. And I think, like I've said, the midfields for both teams will cancel out themselves. I think where this game is going to be won or lost is in the wide areas. Because I'm certain of two things. I'm certain that whether it is Diaz or Jota on this left-hand side for Liverpool, I think Kyle Walker is going to win that battle. And whether it's Gavardio or Akanji or someone else, I think that Mo Salah is going to win this battle. And that's one apiece. Man City 1, Liverpool 1. However, this battle and this battle, I don't see any way in which Liverpool win those battles. And I think Man City win them. And that's unfortunate, and I don't want to say that. But if Pep Guardiola was to be brave and go for Jeremy Doku against Trent Alexander-Arnold, with Trent inverting, and if it is Matip fit and not Ibrahim Konate, then I think, like I said, Doku has a field day. And I think Doku absolutely obliterates Liverpool's right-hand side. If Jack Grealish plays, although like I've said, I think it's a boring choice to go for, and I think if you were neutral, you probably want Doku to be playing. But I think if Jack Grealish plays, he does okay against Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent also has the ability to win that battle, so it's a 50-50. But what Grealish does is he also helps out Gavardio or Akanji with Mo Salah. Because like I said, I think Salah, regardless of who it is, wins this battle on Liverpool's right and Man City's left. But I think that Phil Foden, or if it were to be Julian Alvarez, if Kovacic was to play, or if Foden was to play more in the middle, I think Kostas Tsimikas needs to play outstandingly well just to match up with Foden or Alvarez or whoever it is on the Man City's right-hand side. Because I think this is one battle which they also win. And for me, I've titled this video, this is Klopp 2.0's biggest test yet. And I think this is one where they may perhaps fall short. Because of the fact that I think it's not going to be the new guys in midfield, the Alexis McAllisters, Dominic Szoboszlais, the Endos, the Gravenberches. They're not going to be the reason why I think Liverpool may fall short in this game. I think it's actually going to be the old boys in Trent, Kostas Tsimikas, who defensively aren't going to be good enough against his exciting Man City wingers. And I think it's one where Man City do edge this one, and I'm going to go with a 2-1 prediction. Liverpool haven't won at the head-to-head in the Premier League since before Pep Guardiola took charge. They've had a couple of draws, they've been thumped a couple of times, a couple of close losses, but they haven't won a game at the Etihad in the Premier League since Guardiola took over. And for me, I think it's one where I just fancy Manchester City to get the win, but only just. But like I said at the beginning of the video, Liverpool have really impressed me so far this season, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were managed to get a draw or go all the way and get 3 points against the Man City side. Like I said, Man City with all their injuries, but I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I am going to go 2-1 Manchester City, which is really hurting me, but I think I've got to go with my head over my heart, and I think Man City would just be too good on the day against Liverpool. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.